We're living inside of a rare alignment. Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are forming a triangle in the sky. When the god of the underworld, the god of the sky, and the god of the sea conspire, humanity as we know it is shifting. The collective consciousness is changing. We are living in pivotal times, and it seems like no matter how many times we say that, even in astrology and human design, we can't really grasp it until we start breaking these things down. And we are currently in this destructive phase of everything that's happening. And we have to learn how to navigate this phase while still maintaining some semblance of hope for what's on the other side, which will be completely new, by the way. I truly believe that all of our souls have come to Earth during this time because we are prepared to take the accountability and responsibility and the action that we need to take. And it's just, how do we remember what we are here to do? And on this channel, that's my main goal, is how we can use our bodies and shadow work and the tools like astrology, human design, and even tarot to help us navigate the darkness that we're currently in. Today, we're going to discuss the importance and the meaning of this powerful alignment in the sky. We'll discuss the myths behind it, the importance of them, but I also want to take a step further and create our own personal myth, our own hero's journey with these planets and their mythological symbolism. Because the evolution that's happening out in the world is being carried through our bodies. On the 23rd, I'm running a workshop called Turning Triggers into Gold. We're focusing on the somatic aspect of this. We're going over my 4-step framework that I use with my clients and for myself to help us turn the most difficult moments in our lives, these triggers, into the alchemical gold, which leads us back to our soul. Also entering eclipse season, which can often be quite chaotic for many of us, and a lot of triggering moments can come up. And I'm very passionate about helping people not just know that these can be the portals into our soul and our soul's offering, but to feel it in real time in their bodies. So this is not just a workshop where I talk at you. I'm going to be guiding you guys through the framework. And I have some tools that I've created in the workbook itself, which will be sold separately after this live workshop. So this will be available to purchase after the live workshop on the 23rd, but it is definitely the best deal to buy it beforehand. If you can't make it live, you will also get the replay as well as the work, and I'd love to have you with us. Now let's get into the video. Before we talk about the archetypes and the myths behind them, I just want to throw out some dates here so we understand what we're working with. This triangle has already been in place. It's been in orb for years. But right now, as we speak, as this video comes out, it's quite strong until the middle of September at this 1-degree mark. But we're going to be feeling it even through the next time that it happens at the 4-degree mark in 2026, in summer of 2026, and then the 6-degree mark in 2027. But we're really going to be feeling these energies up until 2030. Now, if you've been watching some of my videos, you'll know that I've been talking about 2030 quite often because there are other things that are happening around 2030. One of them just being that it's the halfway point of the 10 years of Pluto being unbound. It's also the culmination of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that happened in the sign of Aquarius on December 21st, 2020, which is a 20-year cycle, but we have the opposition occurring in 2030. So it's kind of like the culmination of this cycle where we're going to see something coming from this. So I really feel like 2030 is a time that we're going to look around and see that a lot of physical changes have taken about in our global collective. And until then, we're really just navigating the darkness. And this is just in a very loose prediction, right? My work isn't necessarily to just be accurate in predictions. It's more about opening our eyes up to the possibilities and preparing ourselves for the energies, the patterns in the sky that we are looking to meet. Pluto has also recently just retrograded back into gate 60. Gate 60 in human design is the gate of limitation. This is the last time that Pluto will be in this part of the sky for the next 248 years. So this is really closing out a cycle with Pluto once it gets out of gate 60. Gate 60 lies in the root center in human design, and there is a pressure to act whenever we have something highlighted in the root center. We may be feeling this more now. The feeling of wanting to act, but also feeling that imposed restriction from the external world. Restriction and pressure may be rising collectively as well. And this is why I'm so passionate about teaching people not just to know about the energies intellectually, but learning how to transmute them through the body so that we can actually start taking action in alignment. If you guys are interested in me talking more about Pluto and gate 60, let me know in the comments below. I would love to make another video about this. So we've talked about these three gods, right? Pluto, god of the underworld, representing death, rebirth, power, shadows. Uranus, which is rebellion, awakening, sudden freedom, sudden insights. And then we've got Neptune, which is the longing, the spiritual visions, the dreams. Let's start with Pluto. Now, there are a lot of myths that surround these gods, but one that Pluto is known for, Hades is known for, the lord of the underworld, is abducting Persephone and bringing the cycles of death and rebirth into the physical realm because of that. He's known for stripping away what is false and dragging us into the underworld, into the subconscious, the shadow realm. We talk about this eruptive essence of Pluto. It's because it's coming from the subconscious, and he demands surrender to these subconscious desires in some way. But in return, he gives us the power of regeneration, the power of truth. Pluto doesn't destroy just because he enjoys cruelty. He destroys so that what is indestructible may live. Now, Uranus was the sky father, but the myth that's actually most associated with Uranus, as I've talked about previously, is Prometheus. Because Prometheus was the one who stole fire from the gods to give to humans. And so this was an act of rebellion, which he was ultimately punished for. And I've talked about this at length in my Uranus and Gemini video, so I'll have that linked somewhere if you're interested. But what he did was an act of rebellion in order to bring awakening or make awakening and enlightenment possible for humans. This is the energy of lightning that breaks chains, but also the chaos that follows when those chains are broken. What happens when we are broken into this new sense of awakening, right? You think of the tower moment. When the structure, when order is overturned, it's unpredictable, it's destabilizing. And Neptune, or Poseidon, the god of the sea, known for the unpredictable moods that we can witness in the ocean, calm waves 1 second, massive storms the next. And in a lot of ways, this myth is entwined with divine inspiration and visions. So when it comes to Neptune and the archetypal essence, there is a dissolving of boundaries, this understanding of oneness. It's almost like Neptune pulls us towards the infinite to see beyond our daily physical realm. And Neptune is the wave that can often dissolve what we thought was solid. And sometimes this may feel like we're drowning, but oftentimes it's to carry us into a vision of the future. The reason why myth is so powerful, among many, is that it's a symbolic language. And symbolic languages are less threatening to our ego. So if we think about depth psychology and we think about the persona, the shadow, the ego, those are just 3 aspects of us. And I've talked about this at length in my shadow work videos. The ego is the protector. And so it's what kind of keeps us from being able to see into the subconscious. But when we use symbolism like astrology, tarot, human design, and myth, we can break down the barriers of the ego much easier, and it allows us to get in touch with that subconscious material so we can integrate it into who we are, into the self. This is why it's so powerful, and this is why, in my opinion, these symbols are ways of doing this somatic shadow work that I love in such a more potent way. So now that we've talked about some of these myths and how we can start curating the thoughts of our own myths, and don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this at the end with some reflections. Let's talk about the aspects that they're making together, because this is really powerful. Because they're all easy aspects, we have to become really conscious of it, because a lot of people love the trines and the sextiles, but these aspects can sometimes become quite lazy. They're not as loud, and so we just kind of bypass them. But if I go through these, it might help you understand what we are being asked of collectively, right? That's what astrology really shows us, in my opinion. Pluto is in Aquarius and it's trine Uranus in Gemini. This is where power meets rebellion. Deep, intense, eruptive change meets sudden breakthroughs. And then we've got Pluto in Aquarius sextiling Neptune in Aries. So this is transformation in service of a spiritual vision. And Neptune is really kind of like the apex here. So it feels like the spiritual vision is what is keeping all of this together. This is what Uranus and Pluto are working in service of in some way, right? And it's almost like, because Neptune is in Aries, there is a spiritual courage that's arising from the depths of our subconscious. And then, of course, we have Uranus and Gemini sextiling Neptune and Aries. And so in some ways, this is like innovation mixed with imagination. And it could even be technologies that are infused with dreams and ideals. And I plan on making more videos about this, because Pluto and Aquarius and even Uranus and Gemini and technology, I have a lot to say about it. And that also involves the myth of Prometheus too. So it's these three planets, these three outer planets are weaving this rare alliance. You know, it's like Pluto is chiseling away the falsities of our lives. Uranus is electrifying the things that are ready to awaken. And then Neptune, as the midpoint, is infusing that vision with that spiritual fire, that spiritual courage. Collectively, this is about civilization and the collective consciousness completely shifting into something new. But personally, this could show up anywhere that you're being asked to release control, Pluto and Aquarius, anywhere where you're being asked to break free into something new and allow the insights to actually change you, Uranus and Gemini, and where you are being asked to have spiritual courage to move into something with a sense of bravery that's serving something bigger than yourself. And what role are you going to play in this myth? Because yes, collective myths are collective, but they're lived through us. They're lived through our bodies, our relationships, and our choices. So I have a few questions that I'd love for you to reflect on when curating your own hero's journey, including these planets, what your contribution is going to be. Now, these are broad questions, but you can think about where you have these signs in your chart, and that might give you some clues as to where you're being asked to curate this hero's journey, this myth for yourself. So for Pluto and Aquarius, you can ask, how am I transforming power by helping the collective evolve? For Uranus and Gemini, what radical truth or idea am I here to speak into the world? And for Neptune and Aries, how am I being called to dream a new myth of courage and spiritual bravery? As an example, as a Leo rising with Neptune in my 9th house, Uranus and Gemini in my 11th, and Pluto in Aquarius in my 7th house, my myth might sound something like being a leader, Leo rising, who is dissolving old ideas of dogma and dreaming up new spiritual frontiers that require courage from me. And I'm here to electrify communities with radical truths and have these conversations that change the way people see the future. And the relationships that I enter are transformational. We're not just connecting, we're alchemizing together. And so my life myth with this could be to stand as some sort of a bridge between this spiritual vision, this radical community, and transformational partnership, leading others into a new collective story. The choices that we make now are going to echo into years and years of existence, possibly even generations. So when we're thinking about these visions and what we're going through right now, this is more meaningful than I think any of us can even imagine or fathom during this time, because it's like we're living the myths in motion. And the question is, how will you embody this cosmic dance in your life? And how will you play your part as the hero of your own myth? Will you play it passively, or will you curate this into something that is meaningful for you? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this and to actually really reflect on these questions and think about how you could be playing a role here. And if you're brave enough to share it in the comments, I would love to read what you think your hero's journey is in this. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps my channel so much. Subscribe to my Substack as well. You can find me on Instagram sometimes too. And if you're interested in the workshop, I'll have the link in the description and in the comments down below. I'll see you next time.